Hi, my third grade scientists. We are about to read about a section named entitled Opinion and Evidence. Please track along and follow along as I read. Opinion and Evidence. Ooh, this connects to our opinion writing. Two girls just finished a sponge activity. They were surprised that their 4-gram sponge soaked up 32 grams of water. That seems like a lot for such a small sponge. As they recorded data in notebooks, Tisha said, "If we had a natural sponge, it would soak up even more water." "How do you know?" asked Kim. "I just know it would," replied Tisha. "Natural things are always better. I would always choose a natural sponge. I'm sure it would work better." "So you've never tested a natural sponge to find out if it can soak up water than a synthetic sponge?" asked Kim. Now, synthetic sponges are sponges that are made from factories that we get in our stores. "Well, no, I never actually did the experiment," admitted Tisha. "But it makes sense to me that the natural sponge would soak up water better." "We could find out for sure," said Kim. Let's get excuse me. Let's get a natural sponge and test it. That should give us evidence about your opinion that natural things are better. This sounds a lot like what good readers do. They find the evidence, and good writers. Header: the experiment. The next day, the girls stayed after school to do their experiment. They had a new synthetic sponge and a new natural sponge, but there was a problem. The natural sponge, which was much larger than the synthetic one. Tisha and Kim decided to cut 3 small samples from each sponge. The small samples would all be the same shape and same mass. They cut and trimmed and weighed carefully. Finally, all 6 samples were exactly 5 grams. "How should we soak the sponges to make sure it is a fair experiment?" asked Kim. "I know," said Tisha. "We can use a stopwatch to time 1 minute while we hold the sponges under water. That will really soak the sponges. Then we'll take them out of the water. We will hold them over the basin for 30 seconds. Then we will weigh them to find out how much water soaked into each sponge." "That sounds good to me," agreed Kim. "Let's get started." The girls soaked and weighed the first synthetic sponge. They repeated the procedure with the 2 synthetic sponges. They did this to make sure their measurements were accurate. Then they did the same thing with the 3 natural sponges. They recorded their measurements in a table. Oh, this sounds a lot like what we did yesterday. So in this photograph, in the caption, it states the girls soaked the sponges for 1 minute. Then they let the sponges drip for 30 seconds. Ooh, here is their table measuring the mass, the wet sponge, and the mass of the water. Header: a second look. The girls studied the data. It looked like the synthetic sponge soaked up about 5 more grams of water than the natural sponge. Said Tisha. "It looks like the natural sponge isn't better. At least not better at soaking up water. But you know what? I want to try one more thing. Let's squeeze as much water out of the sponges as we can. Then, starting with the damp sponges, we can repeat the experiment exactly. Then we will be sure our results are accurate." Kim thought that was a good idea. They repeated the experiment and recorded these data. Okay, I see now that the synthetic sponge is better at soaking up water, said Tisha. The evidence is right there for all to see. From now on, I am going to use synthetic sponges to soak up spills. But I will still use natural sponges for other things because they last longer. Are you sure? Asked Kim, had her opinion. Tisha likes natural things. She likes chairs made of wood. She likes t shirts made of cotton. Her opinion is that natural things are always better. When she and Kim were working with sponges, Tisha claimed that natural sponges were better, but her claim was not based on data and evidence. Her claim was her opinion. Opinions are based on what a person believes to be true, not on scientific data. Evidence is based on observation and scientific data. In science, claims are tested with experiments. Experiments produce data and evidence. The evidence will show if the claim is true or not true. So the claim sometimes is that hypothesis. Sometimes more experiments need to be done before a conclusion can be reached. When Tisha and Kim did their experiment, the evidence showed that the synthetic sponges soaked up more water. Tisha changed her mind about sponges after she studied the evidence. Thinking about opinions and evidence. 1. Tisha claimed that natural sponges were better. What did she base that claim on? 2. Why did Tisha and Kim repeat their experiment? 3. Was Tisha's claim that natural sponges last longer based on opinion or evidence? 4. What is the difference between opinion and evidence? Okay, so I would like you to focus on that fourth question. What is the difference between opinion and evidence? I'd like you to use the text to answer that question. Thank you for reading along with me.